Hello and welcome back, or welcome to all of you adventurers. Here is round 2 of Adventurerathon, where we have some new changes, some updates, some co-hosts, some fun, and a whole host of new prompts. Am I recording this while also suffering from a sinus infection and feel pretty damn crap? Yes. Do I also really not want to fall behind on my schedule, so I'm recording it anyway, despite the fact that I can barely breathe? Also, yes. So if I sound a bit different to normal, or if you can hear that my nose is really blocked, I'm just having a week. But I need to stay on track with my postings this month and I can't afford to fall behind, so here we go. If you are new and you have no idea what I'm on about, Adventurerathon is a readathon that I started back in June. I'll put links in the description to the original announcement as well as the wrap-up video, and I'll also put the wrap-up video up here for you if you are interested to kind of see like what went on and what we got up to. I will also have links down below to a G drive that has got all the information you need, as well as this month's rounds of prompts and all the documents and forms and everything. And there will also be a link to the group Discord where you can join and just get involved with all the chats. But that's going to be explained a bit more. So Adventurerathon, eventually it's going to be a choose your own adventure, and each round will be a different theme or a different storyline that you work your way to fulfill. But it's really hard to do an adventure unless you have an adventurer. So in the first round, I created 7 pathways for you to choose from, and you got to build your character. And honestly, you guys did not disappoint. There was some people were even drawing their characters and uploaded them onto Discord. People had full novel backstories. There's one person where we were all rallying behind her now to try and persuade her to write a novel based on this character, because it just sounds so good. And so basically you picked which pathway you wanted and what character you wanted to build, and for each pathway there are different aspects that you have to fulfill. In order to complete the readathon and basically win the readathon, there are only 4 books you need to complete. So for every pathway you have to choose from a tool, which this could be a weapon or it could just be an item that is regularly associated with that career or pathway. There was a choice of skills for you to choose from, and then you have a starting and final quest. Those are the 4 non-negotiables. If you want to enter the giveaways, those are what you have to do, and if you want to basically claim that as your character, that is what you have to do. But there are also for every pathway a set of side quests as well, and they're just, again, those are completely optional. You can finish all of them, you can finish none of them, you can just do all of the non-reading prompts for everything. It's completely up to you. Last time round I did this on a points-based system. This time round I'm not going to do a points-based system. It will simply be when you complete your pathway, submit the form that's in the Google Drive, and that will enter you into the giveaway, and the form will ask you to just break down the 4 books that you've completed for the prompts. And then when you've completed your side quests, again, it will just ask you if you want to get a second entry into the giveaway, then you can fulfill that. And again, it will just ask you to say what books did you read for the prompts. There will also be some social things going on, as there were last time. Last time we had a scavenger hunt where I came up with some clues for each of the pathways, and your challenge was to go out and take a photo of a book with said clues. So for example, one of them was for the assassin route, and it was no assassin would be seen without multiple of these on their body, and the answer was daggers. And so it was basically take a photo of a book with a knife or a dagger or anything that could come close to looking like that thing. Some people obviously have physical disabilities or just are unable to get out and about to do the photos outdoors, or weather might not have permitted. So there was also the option there for people to just submit their guesses if they weren't able to. Anyone who submits their guesses, whether it be in photo format or written format, they will gain points. So we will still be doing the scavenger hunt. Cosplay contest will be open again. One new thing that is absolutely happening is my co-host Jonah is going to be running a D&D one-shot. So basically we're going to pick a date and time that's hopefully going to be time zone friendly, and we will announce in advance when that will be. We'll open a sign-up form for, I think Jonah said that he's happy for up to like 4 or 5 people, and that will be similar to like Critical Role if you watch that show, where we will do a live stream of us playing. And this will be a thing that we do every time when we do the Readathon. Will be a D&D one shot that will be based on the storyline and based on the theme. So there will be an option for you, some of you, to join a D&D one shot. On terms of co-hosts, I have 2 co-hosts, and in the wrap up I just said that one was tentative. I have now confirmed it. So we have Jonah from Words from the Void and Ren from The Reading Ren, to probably not many people's surprise. They are my lovely co-hosts. Basically, they have taken on some of the responsibilities that have helped me to manage the load that I'm working on. So one of them will be taking over the social media side of things and the announcements. One of them will be doing helping me with a lot of the planning and prep and keeping track of all like the spreadsheets and things like that. And then we also, the biggest thing there will be I will set a schedule for the sprints, and if for any reason, because my work aren't very good at giving me my worksheets with much notice, like it's Saturday and I don't yet know when I'm working next week because they haven't given me my timesheet yet. So because of that, I'm just going to plan the sprints, and then for any that I can't do, Ren and Jonah, as long as they are health permitting, they will step in and run the sprints if I'm called into work or if I'm too sick, and it will be amazing. So I think I've covered what I need to cover for this part. So that just means going into what are the roles, what are the prompts, what are the pathways of this round. The biggest thing that we are going to do is at the end of this month, once the readathon has ended, there will be a poll open for all of you to choose your favourite pathway, and that way I will hopefully by the end of that have 7 paths, and they will be the permanent ones. So it may be that a character you created last time doesn't make it through to the final, and I'm really sorry if that does happen, but obviously I want to kind of keep it to 7 paths so that I can actually manage, and certainly 1 or 2 ideas I've had for the readathon and for various rounds. If there's too many paths, it's just going to become so complicated and too much work to actually keep up with. What are the pathways for this time? Well, we have, as I said, we have the lucky 7, and in alphabetical order, we have got the Blacksmith, the Inventor, the Minstrel, which is also known as the Bard or the Jester. It kind of all falls into that one category. The Necromancer, the Seer, the Spy, and the Warlock. Word of warning, some of the prompts, one of the bits of feedback from last time was that some of the prompts were really hard to kind of break down and understand. I fully get that. This video is obviously for me to try and clarify as much as possible what these prompts are. I will also be doing a written doc with all of the prompts, and I'll put a little bit more explanation in there. And not this video, but when the next video is released, which is the reading recommendations video, there will be a document that I will release on that video in a week's time, where you can add your own recommendations, and you can go on there and just have a look and see way more recommendations than the video gives. And there will also be a specific thread in the Discord for you to check. So let's go through our prompts for each of them. I have shuffled way over now so that you can actually see it and me, because last time I kept doing this and coming into the video and it was really annoying. So I'm hoping this time to not do that. One thing to definitely point out, because this one came up in questions quite a lot last round and I got a bit I kept explaining it, so I'm making it very clear on this video that when I state something on the cover, I mean it can be in the title, it can be the author's name, or it can be an image. It's not just what the image is on the cover, it's any element on the cover, even if it's like the dust jacket, the back of the dust jacket, if it's got artwork. that counts, or the hardback itself, if that's got foiling or anything like that, all of that counts as being the cover of the book, okay? So for Blacksmith, you are creating a masterpiece. To do this, your tools, you have the choice between ore, which is a metal in the title. This can be either, like I said, the metal itself, so gold, copper, silver, iron, whatever, or it can be like a blacksmithing term to do with metal. So it could be gild, it could be gilding, it could be plating, it could be dousing, tempering or temper, anything that is a metal word or something to do with blacksmithing in the title counts. Or you can choose to have a forge, which is fire on the cover. So again, any fiery words as well as fire itself. For skills, we have weaponsmithing, which is a book featuring a battle or is set during a war. There's farriery, which the prompt just says horses. Basically, it just means if the main character is a horse, or if there is a horse in the book, even if the horse is only in it for like 2 pages, as long as there is a horse in the book, or it's got horse riding themes, or it might even be that they're on a journey and they ride on horseback, anything that is horsey type stuff counts. And then furniture fittings, because blacksmiths, not only did they make weapons and do the farriery, they used to often make a lot of the things like nails and hinges and locks and things like that. So I decided a book set indoors. This might be something like a locked room mystery. I know that they tend to be purely indoors. It might be that it's set in a hospital, it might be that it's in a classroom. As long as the majority or all of the book is set indoors and is an indoor setting and has people doing things inside, you're good to go. Your starting quest is to read a book that features blacksmiths or a legendary / mythical weapon. This one, I got a little bit of feedback from Ren and Jonah where they were like, this one could be a bit difficult, because originally I just put just about blacksmiths, and then even I was struggling to find books. I was like, okay, so I have expanded it. So it could be something like a book that features Excalibur, for example, or it could be that there is a series of weapons or armour that have been created and the book is about that. So there are quite a lot out there that I can think of. So I have hopefully made it a little bit more accessible and a little bit easier to come up with books. But again, if you struggle, let me know. And then your final quest is because you're creating a masterpiece, I thought it would be only fitting to read a book that is a special edition. So, you know, special editions generally tend to be a really beautiful edition of a book. But if you don't have a special edition, because not everybody does have access to them or wants them, then you are to read the sort of fanciest and most beautifully crafted book on your shelf. So basically your prettiest cover. If you choose to do your blacksmith side quests, the first thing is to quench your metal. So quenching is when you cool metal down. So that is a book that is set either during winter or in an Arctic / cold setting. Open your smithy. A lot of blacksmiths open their smithies in cities, so read a book set in a city. It doesn't have to be a real city, it can be fictional, as long as a city setting. Build your reputation. So every blacksmith needs to build a reputation to get clientele and customers. So that is to read a book that has been rated 4 or higher on Goodreads. And then don't get injured, because it's a very dangerous job. You might get burnt, you might get hurt. Is to read a safe book. So this is a book that's got low stakes, a book that might just be really cozy and wholesome and might not even really have a plot. It just gives you joy. It might have very few trigger warnings. It might be one of your favourite books of all time that even if it's full of trigger warnings, it's a comfort book to you. So any book that is safe and cozy and wholesome or is something that brings you comfort. Might even just be your favourite author, something like that. And then your non-reading prompt is repair work. This is one that Jonah came up with and I thought was fantastic, which is basically repair that thing that you've been putting off. Have you got a battery that's been needing changing for months? Have you got a mug that has been sat in pieces? Anything that is broken or that you need to repair or fix or just do, go do it. So that is your blacksmiths. For the inventors, this one I'm quite excited for and it looks quite fun. The main quest is to become like the mad scientist, you know, that kind of eccentric, wacky, out there scientist that everyone pictures, you know, that kind of character. We all know the character. So for your tools, we have tinkering tools, which is tools on the cover. This one again has created a bit of confusion and debate. What I will state, when I state tools, I mean things that you can build with. So hammers, chisels, screwdrivers. I will allow axes as well because they are, certainly in medieval settings, they were a tool that was used quite a lot. Any sort of DIY or building tools, those are what count for that. I specifically am looking here for like building and DIY tools and things that you imagine an inventor might use as a tool. And then your second one, you need to keep your eyes safe, so you need to wear goggles, which is to read a book with glasses on the cover. Just to specify, I do mean eyewear, eye goggles, eyeglasses, whatever. I call them glasses because I'm English. I know Americans tend to call them eyeglasses and other people call them spectacles. But yeah, I do mean that. I don't mean things like eye patches and stuff. These are specifically these things on my face. So if these are on the cover, you're good. For your skills, we have robotics, which is a book featuring robots, AI, cyborgs, androids. If there's a robotic, if it's a person or even a non-person with cybernetic components, you're good. Drafting, which is where you come up with blueprints and you design things, is to try a new genre because, you know, with drafting, you're trying something new and you're making something new. So give a new genre that you've never tried a shot. And then science, so this encompasses all of the science, which is a science workplace. This could be a lab setting, it could be a spaceship, as Ren asked me the other day, can it be a spaceship? And I was like, yes, that is scientific. It could be that it's an archaeologist on a dig. Anything that is to do with a science and their own work. It could even, if you really are struggling, I will even accept if it's someone who is studying a science, if it's someone at university who is studying biochemistry or biology, that also will count. So as long as it features sort of a sciencey workplace or you are studying science, I'll allow it. Your starting quest is to read a steampunk because steampunk, I feel, other than sci-fi, I feel steampunk is the most synonymous thing with inventors and inventions and tinkering. And I was thinking more steampunk when I came up with this pathway. So I thought it would be cool. And then your final quest, fitting in with the whole mad scientist, you can never predict what they're going to do. They're always coming up with really crazy out there ideas. So I thought the final quest could be Never Let Them Know Your Next Move, which is a book that features one or more plot twists. For the most part, I feel like if you say a book has plot twists, I feel like as long as you don't state what the plot twist is, you're fine, because a lot of books, in fact most books, do have some form of plot twist somewhere in it. But obviously, for some people, I am aware that if you say plot twist, you might read the book going, where's the plot twist? Where's it coming? Where's it coming? So take that one with a pinch of salt. If you know you are someone who is heavily influenced and if you know a plot twist is coming, that ruins your experience. Obviously, don't choose this pathway. But if it doesn't bother you, then do. And then your side quests. We have Watch Your Fingers. A lot of tinkerers and a lot of inventors do things and lose fingers because of it. So, and get injured, similar to the blacksmith. So with this one, we're looking at disability rep. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Designate a crafting space. So set a book that is set in its own world and is set in a completely new world. So a book that has a lot of world building. Marketing campaign, because you need to get your items out there. You need to tell people that you've invented these things. So that is a book that someone convinced you to buy. And then the side effects of science can vary. We never know what's going to happen, and mad scientists tend to go a bit overboard sometimes. and weird and wonderful side effects happen because of that. So this is a book with mutants and or superheroes or anything that kind of involves extraordinary abilities that are a result of science. So think sort of Spider-Man type-esque or Avengers like Captain America, that kind of thing. Superheroes or mutants, anything like that. And then your non-reading prompt is get crafting. So try a new craft or go back to an old craft that maybe you've set aside for a while and make something new from a craft you already have. For the Minstrel, I feel like this one's got the most variety in terms of the skills and things, so I'm quite excited for this one. Your main quest is to do a legendary performance. Your tools, you have the lute, which is a little guitar type instrument, and that is an instrument on the cover. And your costume, every minstrel has a bright colourful costume to gain everyone's attention, so that is to read a book that has a really super colourful cover. For your skills, we have music, so the book is to feature music elements. This could be that the main character is a musician. It could be a book about sirens because they use their singing ability and that is technically music. So there's a lot that can be done with that. Acrobatics, which is a circus or features acrobats. And then juggling, I thought would be interesting to have because you're juggling multiple characters and multiple point of views. So for juggling, it's a book with multiple points of view. I think we all know what multiple point of view is, but just in case you don't know, this is where it's two or more characters and the chapters change between the perspectives of those characters. For your starting quest, it is a book that features performance arts, so this might be a drama club at a school, it might be that there's a travelling troupe, so think Jaskier from The Witcher, he's a travelling bard, that is performance arts. It could be someone who's a dancer, anything, it could be a theatre, anything to do with the performing arts counts. And for your final quest, this is to do a master performance. So read a book, a play, or any sort of media, book, play, short story, even a poem. If it's been adapted in some way, shape or form, read that book. So, you know. For your side quests, we have The Art of Seduction, which is to read a romance. Make yourself some visual aids to help support your performance, so read a graphic novel or manga. Quite often, bards and minstrels also acted as the court jesters and were always acting the fool, so that is to read a funny book or a book that's been written by a comedian. They also regale you through their songs. Quite often they are recapturing tales and stories from history, so that is to read a book that is based on real life people or events. And then your non-reading prompt for the minstrel is to do some composing. Basically, choose a character or a book that you love and create a playlist for that character and book and then share it somewhere. So share it on social media, share it on Instagram, share it through the Discord, wherever it is. Just make sure you tag Adventurerathon so I can see it. But yeah, it'll be really, really cool to see what kind of creations you guys come up with. Necromancer next, so we've got slightly darker themes coming up, and I think for Meredith, who wanted the edgier ones, you'll probably want either a Necromancer or a Warlock. But the main quest is to raise someone famous from the dead. To do this, your tools, we have a coffin, which is a coffin on the cover. I am expanding this one to include gravestones because I did not realise just how difficult it was going to be to find books with coffins on the cover. I thought, hey, most horror, like there's going to be tons of like horrors and vampire books with it. It's difficult. So I am expanding it to be coffin or gravestones. Or a skull, which is a skull on the cover. For your skills, we have resurrection. So a book, go back to a book or a series that you abandoned. It might be that you are like me and you have 20 books that you're halfway through. So just pick one of them and finish it. You don't have to restart it, just finish it. If you want to restart it, you can, but otherwise just get it done. Or if you've got a series that you're in the middle of and it's been, say, 3 years since you've read the next book in the series, which I am very guilty of doing myself, go and pick the next book up and get on with it. Then we have will manipulation, which is a book featuring possession or mind control. With possession, this could be things like poltergeists or ghosts or spirits or demons or something like that taking over the body. With mind control, it could just be that somebody is doing stuff to your brain or is manipulating you in some kind of way. So if you're struggling with one of those, if you find a book where someone's just being manipulated and there's someone else controlling what they do, that will count as well. And then immortality, because many necromancers seek out immortality, is to read a book that is older than you are. His starting book is to read a book, I've just put death. So any book that has themes around death or dying or like funeral rituals maybe, or anything to do with death. And then your final quest to resurrect someone famous is to read a retelling, because most retellings are based off of famous stories. So read any retelling that takes your fancy. And then your side quests for Necromancer, we have breaking the rules, because let's face it, necromancers break pretty much all of the ethical rules, is to read a book featuring forbidden magic. You've heard of the song Don't Fear the Reaper? Not in this case. In this case, do fear the Reaper. So read a book featuring reapers or any kind of deity who, like, might be the god of death. It might be sort of like, you know, the Hades, where he's the god of the underworld. Might be about reapers or scythes, anything like that. Return to the Grave is to reread a book that you've enjoyed. Sometimes when raising the dead, things go wrong and maybe someone comes back and they don't quite come back whole, or maybe their bodies are too decomposed, so they kind of come back as gross zombie type creatures. So that one didn't go to plan, which is to read a book where something goes wrong or some unexpected things happen in the book. Obviously, this one is one where for a lot of the time, unless you've read the book, you might not know. So that's where the recommendations probably will come in very handy for you. And then your non-reading prompt for this one is to learn about death. So this is to either go to a museum, or if you can't get to a museum, watch an archaeological documentary or any sort of documentary online. It might be something to do with the Egyptians and the pharaohs. It might be something to do with true crime documentaries. Quite often that would count because it talks about death. I know that one's slightly more morbid, but hey, you chose the necromancer route, therefore you must be slightly morbid yourself. So then we go on to our seers. So here your main quest is to divine a great future, like not great as in good necessarily, but great as in big. For this, your tools, we have the Tools of Astrology, which is a book with stars on the cover, or we have crystals, which is crystals on the cover. So this can be gemstone, either a picture of gemstones or any sort of gemstone like, you know, jade, amethyst, moonstone, anything like that. If it's on the cover, counts. For your skills, we have different types of divination. We have runes, which is a historical setting, because a lot of runes tend to be from historical sources, such as Vikings, for example. They were big on runes. Then we have horoscopes. So this is to find an author, to read a book by an author who has the same star sign as you. There is a website, I can't remember the name of it, but I have got it on my phone and I will link it below and I'll put it up here for you to see. Max and I spent quite a long time when we were talking through these prompts. We spent a lot of time scrolling through and finding authors that fit and that we have. And then Foresight, which is to read a book that you think is going to be a 5-star, so a 5-star prediction. Your starting quest is, you know, you are training to be seers, so read a book featuring fortune tellers. And your final quest is to read a book that features a prophecy, because, you know, you need to divine a great future and you need to divine something big. And so read a book that features prophecies, and that way that will help you. As for your side quests, we have tarot readings. So this is one that I found quite amusing when G released her Aurelium prompts, because one of her prompts was so similar to this. I was like, she read my mind, because I'd written out my prompts about a month before she released that video. So if you have a tarot deck, then draw a card. If you don't, again, I will link below, and there is a tarot generator that will pull a card for you, and choose a book that matches either the meaning or the design. So for example, for Aurelium, I did this one because it was to draw a tarot card and pick a book based on it. So I chose the tower, and that had like fire, lightning, a tower, people, a crown. And so I picked a book that featured one of those things. So it's that kind of thing. Or if you know that a particular card means a particular thing and you've got a book that matches that theme, choose that. It's all witchcraft, shouts a lot of these skeptics, and they don't believe you, and in the olden days you could have been tried as a witch for it. So read a book that features witches and covens, because quite often witches also dabble in the divination. Then we have Rewrite the Stars. So that is to read a book that features celestial or astrological magic. And then your final reading prompt is it has to be destiny. So read a book featuring fated mates, or as I found out, fated mates and just standard, what I grew up calling mates, or like side changeling where it's just mates. It's all the same thing. So anything that features mates or people who are destined to be together, things like that. And your non-reading prompt is dream analysis. So write down, if you are someone who remembers your dreams, either keep a dream diary for a week or something, and then do find some dream analysis tools and do a dream analysis for yourself. And if you are someone who doesn't have dreams or doesn't remember your dreams, then you can ask someone for their dream, or have a think about just a generic dream that you would like to have or that you do have in your life, and do something to try and help manifest that dream. Then we move on to one that is a little bit more unique. I was kind of struggling to come up with path ideas by this point, as you might be able to tell, but I still think this one's come out really, really well, and that is the spy route. So the main quest is to uncover an important secret. Your tools, we have camera, so a camera on the cover. A lot of spies use cameras to capture footage and videos and evidence. And a lot of spies also go under disguise. Most spy films, you have at least one time where they get glammed up, or they go somewhere where they have to completely change their appearance. But quite often in that, it tends to be that they dress up. So that is to find a book that has formal wear on the cover. So it might be a suit, it might be a ball gown, it might be ceremonial dress, it might be a wedding dress, anything that's like not your just everyday typical clothing. For your skills, we have surveillance, which often involves planting bugs and listening in. So your prompt is an audiobook. We have linguistics, which is to read a translated book. Most manga falls under that. So that one could be a very quick and easy book for you to complete. And discretion, because spies do have to be very discreet, which is a discreet or misleading cover. So basically the cover doesn't really give away what the contents of the book are about, or the book itself is actually, the cover is so different to what's inside the book that it's quite misleading, and maybe it doesn't match what it should be. Your starting quest, obviously you've chosen to be a spy, read a book featuring spies. And then your final quest is to uncover a big secret. So that is to read a book that features a big secret. This might be something like lost royalty. It might be that someone's got secret magic. It could be that someone is having an affair. Anything to do with uncovering a big secret. It might be there's a big military, government corruption that's being uncovered. You know, anything that fits that. For your side quests, we have international espionage. So this is to read a book set in South America. It can also be heavily inspired by South America if you don't have any that are set in. And then if you live in South America, it's to read a book set in Asia. Or if you live in Asia, to read a book set in South America. But if you don't live in either of those two continents, then you can choose either of them to go with. We have I Spy. This is another one of Jonah's suggestions, which I thought was really cool. I Spy, which is a book you've seen somebody else reading. It can be on the train, or you might have seen them on YouTube or a vlog or anything like that. But as long as you've seen someone else read this book, you're good. We have interrogating suspects, so books featuring prisoners or captive, someone who's being held captive or is set in a prison, something like that, or maybe even someone who's been institutionalized but hasn't chosen to be, anything where someone is being held against their will. A spy of many talents. Many spies have to have multiple skills as well as like languages and things like that, and one of those is physical fitness. Quite a lot of spies have to be physically fit to get in and out of situations or to take part in combats. This is to read a book that features sports or has fitness and health themes inside of it. And then your non-reading prompt is a movie night, so watch a spy movie. And my personal recommendation is Spy that's got Melissa McCarthy and Jude Law in it and Jason Statham. I love it. I'm not normally a big spy film person, but it's one of my favourite films. So that's my personal recommendation. And then finally, our final pathway is Warlock. Your main quest is to corrupt your enemy, because warlocks like to corrupt people. They like to do dark and dangerous and deadly things, and they're a bit twisty inside, so let's twisty up somebody else. Tools. First of all, a lot of warlocks contain their magic in an item, and an amulet is quite popular, so we have an amulet, which is jewellery on the cover. And I will specify, if it's just a jewel on its own, that does not count. It actually has to have a fitting, so it has to be like a chain or a ring or something that has jewellery, or even crowns, they kind of count. And spellcasting, so smoke on the cover, because a lot of spells, and when you watch a lot of visual effects for spells, you get a lot of smoke and puffs of magic. So I thought that would be an interesting one to have, so smoke on the cover. For your skills, we have curses, so a book that features curses, or so this could be like a cursed person, a cursed place, a cursed kingdom, a cursed object, or just in generic something someone is learning about how to create curses. Shadow magic, which is a dark fantasy, or if you don't read fantasy, it's to read a dark romance, and if you don't read either of those, a book that has really dark, gritty themes. Invocation is a poll pick. You invocate and you summon your friends and they are going to pick for you. Your starting quest, because you're a warlock, very rare to get a good guy that's a warlock, so a book written from a villain's point of view. And then your final quest, this one could be quite difficult. Again, please make use of the recommendation sheet when it's released next week, is a hero corruption arc. So you are trying to corrupt the good guy and make them bad. What better than a hero corruption arc? And I've literally just yesterday finished a book that is perfect for this, so I'm looking forward to that video. And then finally, your side quests for Warlock, we have Gather Your Power, which is to read a strong female main character. Acknowledge your patron. Most warlocks associate with a patron who is the source of their magic. And so in this case, I've gone with fae, demons, or angels. So read a book that features one of those three. Not all warlocks are evil. As I said, most are, some are not. So this is a good book, but doesn't have such a good cover. So good book, bad cover. And then small yet powerful spells. A lot of warlocks don't have tons of spells, but the ones they do have are very powerful. So read a short book that is under 200 pages. Again, a lot of graphic novels and a lot of manga fall into this category, and there are quite a lot of shorter books out there that you can pick up. And then your final non-reading prompt for Warlock is to have Dark Pursuits, which is to read by candlelight or by fairy lights if you don't really want fire in your house. So those are all the prompts. I hope I've explained everything enough. If you do have any specific questions about any of the prompts, please do let me know below. Essentially with the Readathon, it's exactly the same format, just different pathways. And like I said, there is the Discord. There will be from now, there will be all of the prompts will be available in the drive. And then from next week, there will be the recommendation spreadsheet. The only reason I'm not sharing that now is because myself, Jonah and Ren are adding to it so I can do the recommendation video. So I need that to stay as it is for now so I can use that as a guide. As soon as that video is up in a week's time, I promise you though, that those recommendations will go up for you and the spreadsheet will go up for you. And then it will be an open spreadsheet that anyone can add to. And like I said, there will be I haven't written out the schedule events, but by the time I edit and upload this, I will post here the preliminary schedule of events. And obviously, as always, subject to change depending on availability and work schedules. But this is kind of the plan, especially for live shows. But when it comes to well, the scavenger hunt will be all month, the cosplay contest will be open all month, and then the only sort of date specific things will be if the quiz goes ahead, the quiz, otherwise it'll be the D&D one shot, but that's Jonah and he will update when we have that. But yeah, if you have any other questions, please do let me know below. Otherwise, I really hope you come and join us for round 2. I really hope that if you're joining us for the first time, you have a fantastic time. I'm excited. I think I've decided I'm either going with Seer or Inventor. I haven't yet decided, but I will have my TBR coming out soon with I will decide then. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, let me know what you're currently thinking of. Let me know how you're getting on. And I will see you guys next week for the recommendations video. I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. And until next time, bye.